Listening to the Pop Culture Podcast, you are.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, may the force be with you. We are here on episode 42 of the Bob Culture Podcast. Full spoiler alerts are in effect here. That's right, we said it. We're ready to go. Of course, I am joined by my Star Wars panel. Of course, we have my lovely wife, Kate Ortiz, the front woman of Vection, joining us on the panel. How are you, love?
I'm great. No photos, darling.
All right. Over here, of course, we have Star Wars fan, and of course, you know him from my wrestling panel. The man, the myth, the legend, the one and only Mr. Tim Urig. How are you, my love?
No! I'm doing great. Thanks for having me again.
Yeah, man. Thanks for coming over. And, of course, we have Lord Vader himself, the Star Wars aficionado, the man who knows his stuff. Chris, thanks for making this happen. Thanks for being here. How are you, my friend?
I'm doing well, Bob.
All right, man. And we are ready to talk about Solo, another one of these kind of standalone Star Wars films. Are they making more? Like in the Solo series, or is this it for Solo?
Solos.
Potentially, I think.
Yeah,
I think it's see how this one does.
That's what I'm
we'll
thinking.
Go from there.
Maybe we should talk about that later.
They're like, how much
Yeah.
money can we make off of
That's
this?
what I'm thinking, because I thought I heard some things. But anyway, a lot to be discussed here. You know, we just saw Kate and myself, we just saw the movie earlier this morning. So we're kind of just, on the fly here with this podcast. And let's get right to it. Before we talk about the characters and stuff, I wanted to talk about the time period. Obviously, we know it's between A New Hope and Revenge of the Sith. And then I guess if you count Rogue One, between Revenge of the Sith and Rogue One. Is that right?
Yes,
that
it's in
sounds
between.
right to me.
That sounds right. I know. Now we're all super confused.
It's
But-
along the
Yeah, yeah.
same timeline as what's happening in Rebels.
The Rebels, right? The
See,
cartoon.
now that after watching this movie, I'm gonna have to watch like Clone Wars and Rebels and
I
like
think that's
really
You
know
should.
my stuff.
It's good, right?
Half of the
It's
reason for some of this, because it really does push you to want to watch those.
It does, because like I always thought that stuff was cool, but I was like, it's not really part of it. But now it's like really part of it.
Yeah, well, in this movie and even Rogue One, they've combined. They've added part.
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying. Like
Yeah, they like kind of like made it all come together.
Yeah,
bridged
they brought
everything.
things together and added elements from
Yeah.
Clone Wars
like
and
Saw
Rebels.
Gerrera, my favorite character of all time. Jin.
Yeah, but things like the Hera Syndulla and Ghost and all that stuff which showed up in Rogue One, things like that. So they did a lot of things like that in this movie as well.
Yeah, well, next time I'm sick, I'm gonna have to watch Clone Wars and then Rebels, and then I'll rewatch.
How many
Rogue One.
seasons of Rebels are out?
I hope that you're sick for 2 weeks, because that's how long it's gonna take.
It's very possible.
5. Okay.
3, 4, I don't know.
I got you. I'll have to check that out. So, guys, let's get right into the characters. And again, take it anywhere you want with this. We can talk scenes. We can talk favorite parts, favorite scenes. Obviously, we'll talk about how, we overall liked the film. Real quick, we got to talk with the lead, obviously, Han Solo, the non-Harrison Ford Han Solo, a little bit of a prequel, a little bit more optimistic, young, hungry, adventure-seeking. Han Solo, what did you guys think of this younger prequel take of this iconic character?
I feel like what was his name? Alden Ehrenreich.
Yes.
I feel like he's kind of in a no-win situation. No one's gonna be more Han Solo than the original Harrison Ford Han Solo. It's kind of tough to be like, okay, here's a beloved character that I am replacing currently and trying to be. So people are gonna hate him just because of that. It's a little weird, and it kind of takes you out of it a little bit, just watching the movie and knowing that this is not Harrison Ford Han Solo. He was fine. I didn't hate him, but I also wasn't like, wow. Like, he stood up to Harrison Ford Han Solo. It was just different. He's a different person, and his acting style is different.
Yeah, I agree. I think he did a good job. And like Bob just said, he was a younger, more optimistic kind of Han Solo, where once it's Harrison Ford comes in at that stage in his life, he's a more seasoned rogue kind of. He's been around a little bit, longer, so you can kind of tell the difference there.
Yeah, I mean, he did a good job, and Kate, I think you made the excellent point that it's a no-win situation for him, because who's really seeing this movie that, let's be real, we didn't really ask for as a fan base, but we're like, okay,
That's a good point.
There, we're going to go watch it, we want to see, what's going on. It's a no-win for him, because no, he doesn't really look like Harrison Ford, like, at all. What I did enjoy about his performance is that he comes in and really does his own thing, and kind of shows you where, Han Solo does eventually come from, where he is in this movie naive, and he's a little wide-eyed, and he's a little arrogant, a little cocky, all that stuff, that we kind of want Han Solo to be before he gets to A New Hope, where he's a little jaded, and he's, a little...
Well said.
Yeah, and he's a little bit more arrogant, and he's a little cocky there, but we see kind of where it comes from a little bit, but you kind of want a little bit more. Like, we know that he wasn't always, the Han Solo that's so iconic in the original trilogy, but we want, like, a little more explanation of why he became that way.
Really well said. I agree with that. Go ahead, Chris.
I was gonna say what I thought they did a good job with was, showing that he deep down he really is like a good guy. I mean, yeah, he's a scoundrel and a rogue, and he does do some bad things, but I mean, he still is like a good guy deep down. So
It's to your point, Kate, and as Tim echoed, no-win situation. Harrison Ford, Han Solo, is such an iconic character. When they brought him back in Force Awakens as I'll say old Han Solo, man, he was just fantastic again. And the chemistry he had with Rey and a lot of the other characters, and him and Chewie were just still at it. It was so great. So to Tim's point, did we ask for this movie? Not necessarily, but it's, the fun things about these movies are you get a little bit of backstory, you get a little bit of Easter eggs, and you get some fun connections, like he even said to like the Rebels cartoons and stuff. I thought he was, I wasn't in love. I didn't think it was a home run. He reminded me, like maybe the point was supposed to be that he was like, not jaded, like Tim said. Like maybe that was the point. He reminded me of like Aladdin or something. Like that's not the best comparison. Do you know what I'm saying though? Like he and I'm not gonna make like those.
I can open your eyes.
And well, we have to edit that out. But those
it's a cover. It's fine.
I'm not trying to make those Disney comparisons or those problems that people have to Disney because I am a
Star Wars
shareholder.
is
I'm
owned
all
by
about
Disney,
Mickey Mouse.
though.
Oh well, then
No, I
this is
know.
a conflict of interest, and you
Hey,
can't do
we
this.
like those
podcast.
people at Mickey or at Mickey at Disney.
And Mickey.
I love you, Mickey. Thank you, sir.
I think that being like, oh, he was fine, is the best case scenario
Yeah, I
for someone
don't-
who
was-
is not Harrison Ford
Right,
playing
yeah.
Han Solo.
He did look great, like as far as the hair and the
Yeah,
wardrobe.
I did notice that
Like, I noticed
his
stuff like
hair
that's
and outfits
fantastic.
were really good.
Yeah,
it's
that
just
was
like the
fantastic.
face is off.
His
Once-
voice.
Yeah, once you get over the fact that it's not going to be Harrison Ford and you're sitting watching the movie, however long it takes every individual person, you do get to a point where you're like, hey, all right, it's Han Solo, this is his story, and I'm going to start to somewhat enjoy it a little bit instead of, hating on the idea that he doesn't look like Han Solo, but, you get over it a little bit, because the story itself was entertaining.
I'll say this, and that's a great point. There were a couple of lines, and I want to ask you guys a question. There were a couple of lines in the film. Sometimes he said Millennium Falcon wrong a couple times. He said, like, I know they say Falcon instead of Falcon. Like sometimes but like there was like a couple lines where he's like, "Woo, yeah, baby," and stuff like that, which were very like I was like, okay, like it's a fun movie and like stuff like that. Like I didn't buy it, like with Christian Bale as Batman. Like I didn't buy in.
Whoa. Slow down.
Well, yeah, that was my big thing.
That's harsh.
That is harsh. But I wanted to ask you guys this, and I will say before we talk about Chewbacca, because I have a lot to say, obviously one of my all-time favorites, his chemistry with Chewie was good. It was good. I really, he wasn't my favorite Han, or Han, as Lando says, but they had great chemistry. But I wanted to ask you guys this first, before we move on to Chewbacca, because we're going to spend 45 minutes on Chewie, the best character
And
in Star
Donald
Wars.
Glover, I hope.
Yeah, of course, no. I joke. But what did you guys think about this? And I'm going to ask you, Chris, first. About Han being part of the Empire, or what? Like, explain this to me. Like, had they made any mention of this in other movies? Is this the first association of Han with the Empire?
No.
What am I missing here? Did I misunderstand?
That is his backstory. He did go to the Imperial Academy And just like in that, he has an attitude problem, an authority problem.
We knew about this at some point. Like,
yeah, this is kind of part of his backstory already.
like off-screen backstory, or
yeah,
okay,
and books and
not in the films.
Yeah, not in films.
Okay, because this is the first I had heard of. Han. Okay, I'm with you.
Yeah, so that's kind of his backstory.
Checks out. Okay.
Yeah, and then he does. He ends up, wherever. I mean, the meeting where he meets Chewie is different than, the Legends backstory.
The
with,
literature.
But that part of it is accurate to what kind of people should expect.
Cool. I was just like super confused there. I was like, I had never heard of this. Like, it was an interesting angle.
It
I just
definitely
never heard
makes
of
sense
it.
for his character though, because
Okay.
he's very like self-interest. What's gonna protect me? What's gonna make me money? How do I survive?
Mhm.
And they definitely like do that. And I liked the whole like him kind of being again like enslaved. It kind of makes you feel for him a lot more and understand why he is the way he is. He's not just like a jerk, like running around worrying about himself all the time. Like he came from something crappy and he had to kind of like scrap his way
Are we
out.
hitting some heartstrings here a little bit?
I just need a minute.
Yeah. Okay. So you liked that.
I
Part of it.
liked his
Okay.
backstory as far as
Yeah.
like he had to claw his way out of his crappy situation, and that's why he's hard headed and has to do what he has to do.
And I mean, that's what
Good
I was
stuff.
saying earlier. I mean, he's trying to get himself and the girl he loves off the planet, out of their crap situation. His whole purpose was to join the Empire, learn how to fly, get a ship, go back and find her. And all the people along the way he ends up meeting, he builds a good relationship with.
Yeah, and he joins the Empire because he has to. He was like stuck in that like area trying to escape, and it's like, well, they're gonna catch me,
Yeah.
or I could jump on this, Empire bandwagon, and get the hell out of here.
And his ultimate goal, obviously, was, obviously looking out for himself, but to get back to, I almost said Daenerys. I'm going to say Daenerys like 10 times.
Get back to Daenerys.
Kira. That was his end game,
She should have just flew out on a dragon.
I will say the one thing I didn't like was the way they went about making his last name.
Let's go.
yeah.
Let's talk about that.
I,
Great
I,
point.
I really didn't like that. You know what? He should have just been Han Solo. Why did they have to say, "Oh, I don't have the last name"? Okay, you're Solo.
Yeah. Oh,
And now
you're
he's
by
Han
yourself.
Solo.
Solo. Yeah, I understand.
get that.
And we know that Disney, when they acquired the rights to Star Wars, that they threw out a lot of the stuff that were in books and comic books and whatnot, just to make everything good for future movies and whatnot. So I like that they kind of went back to it a little bit, right? So they're pulling like bits and pieces for the backstory and putting them into these movies, which is fantastic. But yeah, the way they went about, giving him his last name was a little eh. And we'll talk about the dice, right? We're gonna talk about the dice a little bit.
Yeah, you know what? Let's
Yeah,
go to the
and
dice.
I mean, we have a whole idea of what we thought happened in the acquiring of the Millennium Falcon, and we get like a different story, but we could talk about that in a little bit. But we get to see this backstory of Han, and I'll tell you what, I am a huge fan of character development, and I thought that they
Ding,
did
ding,
a
ding.
pretty good job of helping us to see where he came from, yes, but also kind of see where he's going. And, if we see him in another movie, because he may or may not be signed to a couple, more movies coming out, we'll see it grow a little bit more to what he's at.
Okay, so I maybe because I'm kind of a dork, as we all are, but
Speak
I
for
was
yourself.
okay with the last name thing because it reminded me very much of like Game of Thrones, like the bastards in Winterfell or
Okay,
Snow
I get that.
and,
I get that.
and stuff like that, and based and where names come from in general, like people with the last name Miller, their ancestors were Millers, like stuff like that. So it didn't bother me because he was just like a slave. He didn't have a family name, and maybe that's how it worked on his planet or whatever.
They hinted about like his family, they hinted about.
Well, they
his
said something about
relationship
him
with
having his dad and stuff like that. But
and
if they
they-
were all like slaves on that planet, like they didn't have, a name. They weren't anybody.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna
Like right from nowhere.
Yeah. Oh, another great story. I mean, first and foremost, Han Solo. What a badass name! Just Han Solo, man. Like your kid's name's Han Solo. That's awesome. But I will totally. I agree with Chris on this one. a lot of things, and this is what I was worried about. A lot of things with these prequels are like force fed to you a little bit. Like, oh, this is how this happened. This is how like I like it when it's like interesting and it's more subtle. But when it's like force fed to you like that, like, oh, you're by yourself. Well, I'm gonna call you Han Solo, and it's like, okay, like.
There were definitely some things that were on the nose. That's
on
for
the
sure.
nose. That's the thing, and we'll talk about that.
But I
a
feel
little
like
bit
with
more.
stuff like that, like prequels, it can't not be.
I think if they're more subtle, like I like things that make you think,
maybe.
and they're more subtle and they're less direct.
You also need to remember that this movie isn't designed just for Star Wars fans. It is designed for the general public.
Wow.
It is a movie.
All
that,
angles. This
Yeah.
guy.
I mean, it's a movie that they made to make $1 million, however many millions of dollars.
Space
So,
bucks.
while us fans, like fans, we would love the name just to be Han Solo. Who cares where it came from? It was a little cheesy.
Well, very well said. Before we get to, man, I'm so excited to talk about Chewie, but let's talk about the dice. We had a little conversation about the dice earlier. I'm going to let Tim or Chris start, only because they both have dice with them, and they are
I'm
way
very
cool. Yeah,
jealous
there are
because these dice would look cool in
is
my
it
car.
dice or die? It's dice.
It's dice
plural,
wins.
right?
Yeah, why
It's
not?
dice plural.
Whatever.
Gold.
Dice sounds
Yeah.
better. It's dice.
Go ahead, Chris. I hear you shaking the dice. What did you think about like the dice? How they introduced it into this movie? It became a much more of a big deal in The Last Jedi. What did you think about, like, I don't want to say Easter egg, but this more prominent item, in the films?
Well, I mean, they just kind of changed the direction a little bit and made it his good luck charms that that he has with him, that he'll
Very Han Solo.
yeah, wherever whatever ship or craft that he is piloting, he throws the dice up there as like a good luck type thing. I mean, like we were saying before, what we've read and known about history, the dice were part of the Millennium Falcon acquisition, but I mean they I guess changed that a little bit, but
Yeah,
I mean that's fine.
And fill us in here, man, because I know like a lot of the literature and stuff. We were talking about this earlier. Supposedly those were the dice he won the Millennium Falcon. Is that? I mean, I don't know. I don't know if that's like a fan theory or something.
Yeah, no, well, I mean the backstory. I mean he does win the Falcon in the game of Sabacc, but it's like
Yes.
a certain type of Sabacc that includes the dice or whatever.
Oh, okay. I'm with you. Okay, so it was kind of right, but not right. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
with
it was
you.
like a specific something from his home planet, like
Well,
like a
obviously we have-
Corellian.
We have to look up the rules for
Yeah,
that game.
I forget what it's called,
Yeah,
but
we're
there's a
playing
certain
Geek
Sure.
guy.
I saw somebody.
there's a
somebody
certain
posted
version
rules,
that
yeah.
uses the dice along in the game.
They said it's like a game of 21, but like you're getting to like 23. Like it comes dangerously
at
close to
this.
like blackjack, but like not.
I don't know. I just remember it in Knights of the Old Republic, and I could never get the hang of it, and always lost a ton
Oh,
of
you
money.
could play it in the game?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to have
That's
to check
awesome.
that out, man. I think you gave it to me, man. I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah,
It's
so
one-
I mean,
Go ahead.
the dice themselves, like I love the idea of them because it is originally in like A New Hope, and it's there, and we never really talk about it, which is fine, And if they wanted to go the direction in like The Last Jedi, where they made it so prominent to also connect it to this movie a little because it was released at roughly the same time, a couple months later, like I'm okay with all that, but like your fans know that the dice were supposedly used in a game of Sabacc to win the Millennium Falcon. So if you want to do this with the die, right, with the dice hanging, it's okay. The only thing is, don't make it such a big part of the beginning with him and Kira, but you also have to do a couple things in the beginning. You have to establish the relationship of Han and Kira, and that these die are important, but it's really like his good luck charm. So when he hands him off, it's like good luck for her, and when she hands him off, it's good luck back to him. So I mean, I get why they did it. It's just for your real fans, like your true fans. We've always known that he used them in a game to win the Millennium Falcon. So that's kind of what we should have saw.
Yeah.
I think they could have gotten away with not using them until the end, where you can kind of see, where the dice come from, because it did play such a big role in The Last Jedi. So if that was like your connection between Han Solo and The Last Jedi, because it's not in the movie, then it's a solid connection, especially because the new movie came out.
All right. Well said. I'll weigh in on the dice real quick. We spoke about this a little earlier. I guess they were only in A New Hope as far as the original trilogy. Those are the only ones where you could see them. It was a nice little like tidbit, I guess fans knows. I never really even noticed them, I'll be honest, until the spotlight was shined on them so prominently in The Last Jedi. And then they, in this movie, they just brought him right out the gate. Like, he just had them. Like, they weren't given to him. I don't think they explained how that was just his good luck charm. And, like, I like the idea of him. Like, you throw him on. I know you guys threw him on your rear view mirrors, like that's his thing for his vehicles. That's pretty cool. I'm just like, they're fun, but I didn't love the significance of them. They weren't, like, as Tim has just said, super explained, like, not as significant as something, and this is a horrible comparison, like as Anakin's lightsaber that went to Luke. Or it's almost like they're trying to make these such a relevant item. I liked it when they were a little bit more subtle. Again, in the first movie, they played a somewhat important role, a little bit confusing in The Last Jedi, and now it's in this movie a lot, but not, as Tim said, really explained. So that's where but again, if I had a chance to get him, I would totally pick him up.
But it's always
not that
been
bad.
it's always been knowledge that he used the dice in a game of Sabacc to win the Millennium Falcon. That's my only qualm with the whole thing.
Yeah, and it didn't check out. But what Chris had said, it was part of the dice are part of the game. So that's interesting, man.
And I mean, until The Last Jedi, they were just in. Nobody really thought about them until they kind of,
Ding.
put them up there. I mean, George Lucas put him up there because he was a car guy, and it was akin to putting the fuzzy dice in your car, in the 60s and 70s, when he was, driving cars.
And it's totally a Han Solo thing to do, to have a gold-plated or however plated dice hanging from the rear view mirror, quote-unquote, of your Millennium Falcon. It makes total sense.
Yeah, it's a total cool guy move.
And you guys mentioned that they were regular dice, just spray painted gold, like they didn't have all the intergalactic
They made
symbols.
it look more alien-y for Last Jedi.
All right, I think we covered Han pretty much in depth.
Han, my
Let's
boy.
move on to naturally you think we'd go to Kira, but I'm gonna go right into Chewbacca, my favorite part of the movie. Like, this was like the home run, grand slam part of the movie. How they introduced Chewie, I should have figured it out when they said, like, not till I saw his leg or the hair did I figure out. When they said throw him to the monster, I should have figured it out right there. But of course, I'm thinking like the Rancor, stuff like that. Just is where my mind goes, oh, what kind of monster are we going to meet in this one? When they introduced Chewie, I thought it was perfect. He was a prisoner. He had been through some stuff. Like, just the storytelling there, I love so much more than everything with Han. Just that one scene was my favorite. And yes, I love Chewie, and you guys are probably like, oh gosh, here we go.
Yes,
But
ladies and gentlemen, Rob is completely unbiased.
I love Chewie, and just how they introduced him, and he was fighting Han, and they worked together, to escape. That being the beginning of their friendship, I thought was a home run. What did you guys think about the kind of misdirect and introduction of Chewbacca?
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely correct. I mean, they definitely
Thank you.
led you into, that same feel like Return of the Jedi when Luke goes down to that Rancor pit. It's almost similar, kind of like, cave dwelling looking thing, and the grates on top and that whole bit. But I mean, you kind of knew it was coming. All right, that's probably where Chewie comes in, and then obviously
You
it
saw
is.
it coming, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, at some point he's got to come in. You're like, all right, this has got to be where it happens, and. I honestly don't recall like the actual story of how he helps Chewie escape. But I mean, I thought it was perfectly fine. It was
my favorite scene.
Yeah, I mean, he starts speaking, in the
Yeah, I was cool with
Wookiee language to him.
Did you like that?
I thought that was a little odd, but it was kind of funny. I mean, why shouldn't they be able to speak?
It's the first time we've ever seen anyone non-Wookiee speak Wookiee, I believe, on camera, right?
Besides, like, your dorky friends. Yeah.
Most of which are here right
yes,
now.
all of us.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a little bit silly, but it was okay. And then I thought to myself, actually, he understands Chewie, so it makes sense that he would speak that language. Because he always talks to Chewie. He knows what he's saying. But I did like that whole scene, and I like how he kind of like Hanned his way out of it too. Like, oh, you're gonna kill me, but wait, I have a plan to get us both out of here.
His mouth kind of being his weapon.
Chewie, I love Chewie as well. I don't know. I think he can really do no wrong. And I don't want to say that he was underused in The Last Jedi, but, you know, I really wanted more, but I always want more Chewie.
Yeah,
And I
I'm
feel
with
like
you.
this did a good job of doing that for me anyway, because, you know, he was great in it. He's just fantastic. So yeah, I kind of realized a little bit later, like when they said feed him to the beast, I thought the same thing you guys thought, like it's just another, you know, beast that we see.
Rancor,
Yeah, it's something like that. But yeah, Chewie's fantastic in it. You know, he's just funny. He's just great. And I mean, to harp on like what we knew going in, like we know that Han saved him and that he owed him a debt of gratitude for saving his life. So, you know, we kind of got to see that, which I thought was pretty rewarding considering it's something that we knew. But yeah, I had no problems with the way that they did it.
And well, not only, I mean, he gets them out of the confinement in there, but in a later scene, he pulls them out. You know, in the way of almost slamming into those rocks. So he kind of saves them almost twice.
Good call.
You know.
My running joke that I had like the whole movie was, hey, spoiler alert, Han and Chewie, they're going to live.
Oh, boy.
But it was true, though, right? So, you know, you could get into the scene, and I thought they did a good job of keeping some suspense, even though we knew that, like, everything was going to be fine.
Well said. Yeah.
Let's be honest. This movie was Chewie, a Star Wars story.
Man, I thought that a few times, man, because that was the stuff I really cared about, sadly.
Chewie's story did have the most substance, like when he helped the Wookiees.
That's what I was going to talk
he
about,
went,
yeah.
he stopped, he didn't worry about saving himself, and he helped his people.
Now, can I
He's so true to his character.
Can I
really.
ask, because we're all fans, do you think it was like one of his family or was his tribe? Because Han around the fire says, you know, that he didn't know if he said family or he didn't know if he said tribe. But, you know, and then
Woody
Harrelson says,
character.
what's the difference? And, you know, it's kind of like a nice little, like, thing there.
I thought that was a good line.
Yeah, it was a fantastic line. So are we led to believe that it's one of his family members or just a fellow Wookiee that he hasn't seen
I'll
forever?
say fellow Wookiee. I think there's some
I
sort of
agree.
code or, like, honor. Like, they have big heart. Like, yeah, they're big and strong. The Wookiee rage, we got to see a little bit of that. But I think there's a lot, you know, obviously the loyalty is you know, Chewie's like strong suit, and it might be a Wookiee thing. You know, I think they were just trying to exemplify that.
It's like they're people have been enslaved, and it's like a
when they
a
put their heads,
brotherhood.
they put their heads against each other, and like, and then he still went with Han after all that.
Yeah.
That was like my second. I know, very Chewie centric, but one of my like second favorite things. It was so awesome.
Yeah, and I'm sure Chewie was really worried about Itchy and Lumpy.
Oh, there it is. I like that Wookiee. I like that Wookiee. All right. So I could talk about Chewie all day, and but I did think Han and Chewie. You know, I wasn't huge on the lead, but I thought he was very good with Chewie. And real quick, I digress, but it wasn't Peter Mayhew. It was the newer guy, and he did fantastic. Like I didn't, you know, I mean, obviously, I guess Chewie's however 100 many years or decades younger. He was a little more spry. I thought he was good.
I mean, this guy's doing a great job, and I mean, I saw Chewie. I didn't see like anything.
That's it.
Different. I mean, that's Chewie. I mean, and he looked really. I mean, he looked exactly like him. Like, you know, sometimes
the mannerisms.
everything was dead on. I thought he did a great job.
Yeah.
That would suck if you're just like, oh,
yeah,
something's off with Chewie.
In the same way, but that's how I kind of felt about Han a little bit. Like, it's
yeah,
a little
but Han's
off.
not in a costume either. You got to cut him some slack.
But I'm just saying in terms of like the mannerisms and just like the head tilt and all like the little things with Chewbacca were just so. All right, I'm getting emotional.
Have you guys seen the Kevin Smith little thing that he did, which ended up being like an hour long, where he gave his review of The Last Jedi?
Yeah, it was one of my favorite takes on it.
It was all fantastic, and he made a spectacular comment that said it would have been 10,000 times better if when Chewie met Luke Skywalker, when he sat down and told him the whole story of what was going on. I love that. I don't think they purposely addressed it, but I love when they were around the fire and they had Chewie telling his little narrative and no subtitles.
Yeah.
And I thought it was solid. Like, it was really well done.
Let it happen.
I kind of laughed, knowing that he was, just, telling a little story, but it was, I thought it was a nice little thing that they kind of did there.
Yeah, good call. Very cool. All right, let's move on. I'm sure we could talk some more Chewie a little bit.
Wait, just
yeah.
one thing on that planet they were on when they're in that big battle. There was that little bit of hope in there. I was hoping to see maybe like Vader slip in there and just like handle some business. I was like, is Vader going to show up? Because I mean, at this point, he's still like that battlefield kind of General Vader, hacking people down. So I mean, I was like, are we going to see Vader like out there? Even if he's just out there in the distance, you see him just like doing something. But
that would be cool. I would like that where it didn't like close up. It was like almost like kind of. Like off to the side, you kind of see like the red lightsaber or something.
Like they're flying away, and Vader walks out of his ship.
Yeah, that would be cool. But I think they very purposely stayed away from the Force. I guess they did kind of. Obviously we know what happens at the end, but they kind of avoided it. And again, like the main plot in this movie wasn't really rebels versus the Empire. We kind of got there a little bit at the end, but it really was. I mean, a heist, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. Like,
yeah.
It really was a heist.
No, this is a heist.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is like these are the kind of movies that I personally am hoping to see more of. Those like fringe characters where it's not about the rebels and like the Empire versus each other, and they're there. Obviously, they're there, but like there's other stuff going on in this galaxy other than the Skywalkers and all the other nonsense going on.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like Fast and the Furious, a Star Wars story.
And I like the mystery surrounding some of these characters. Like, I'm not thrilled about this Boba Fett thing. We've got a lot on him already. Like,
they already
quiet.
like ruined Boba Fett with like
the kind of
clones.
mystique of him was kind of the cool part. And even the Han, like there was a lot of mystery surrounding him, and now we're getting more answers and force fed some things. But the Chewie thing was totally worth it. Did I mention that?
But there's still a lot more.
Chewie.
There's still a lot more to like Boba Fett because the last you see him, he's still a kid in like the Clone Wars, and I mean, there's a couple things like when we get to him, that they, Beckett, they make mention to that he killed Aura Singh, who in the Clone Wars is kind of taking Boba Fett as mentoring him as he's a kid.
So they really are connected.
So like so a bunch of these other bounty hunters kind of are like training him and
Oh yeah, there's like a whole like league of bounty hunters, right?
I saw the Mandalorian armor.
It's a crime gang that they're just going around and like stealing everything that they can.
Man, I gotta watch these cartoons.
Yeah,
I'm missing a lot of information now.
Yeah, we're gonna have to get.
Yeah, you have to watch them because there's a number of things that come up in this movie that refer back to some of those things.
That's the main thing. Let's get right into Daenerys' character. Yes, I know it's not Daenerys. Let's talk about Kira. I was super excited about her. I'm like, she's gonna be awesome in this. I for some reason, I try not to look too much into this stuff before I go see the movies. I thought she was going to be a little bit more badass, a little bit more like of a fighter, and like have some sort of like special skill or weapon or attack.
She kicked a couple asses,
but she didn't really do anything for me in this. Like the biggest thing with her again was like her chemistry with Han, and I wanted him to get back to her. And at the end, she became a lot more interesting. But like I wouldn't like go out and buy the action figure, if that makes sense. Like that's the best way I could think of it. Like I don't know. I thought she was gonna be awesome. Maybe my expectations were wrong. Like I thought she was gonna be such a cool new character
because we're also used to Daenerys Stormborn, Mother of Dragons,
and she had like a good look and stuff on the posters and stuff. And
I like that she took one of Lando's
underwhelmed.
capes. That was hilarious.
Funny. The cape, the whole cape thing. What did you? But what did you guys think?
I mean, I thought that they did a good job with her being kind of in a an impossible position where
tweener.
She's just underneath the guy, and still being tested to like her loyalties to the to the group and all that stuff, and she kicks some ass. I mean, they do mention the form that she uses, and I mean, if you look back in some of the stuff, like that's what the Praetorian guards are trained in. That some of the other some of the other like Sithy characters are trained in these those kind of like fighting systems. So I mean, she has the potential to be pretty badass if they go forward with other movies.
Okay, so this is kind of like just a start jumping off point for her.
Yeah, because now she's taking the control of this part of it. She's not obviously not on the top, but
Yeah, the ending made her a lot more interesting to me, and that tweener position. Go ahead.
Yeah, no,
You're all about the female, the strong female characters.
Of course, we finally have heroes. It only took a million years, but I agree with what Chris is saying. I feel like I feel like her character had like a lot of mystery to her because she's like, yeah, Han, I've done some stuff, and you don't really know what she's done. And then she has fighting skills, and you're like, okay, where'd the fighting skills come from? And she, went from slave to getting up in the ranks with Vision in that Crimson in the Crimson whatever.
Voss.
Yeah, Voss. But I feel like that's just like her origin story. And then
It's just the tip of the iceberg.
yeah, because then at the end you're just like, oh, what is happening? She's working with Darth Maul, and she's took over this, this whole thing. She had her own like agenda. She got Han out of there. She didn't like, she betrayed him, but she still like protected him. And then she's like, I'm the boss now, guys.
All right. And really well said. I'm gonna kind of branch off of what you said, Chris. I need your help here, man. So we see Darth Maul. This is post getting chopped in half, Darth Maul, and I need you to confirm some of these
He had
things.
the metal legs, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
This is post. Now, is this in perfect sequence with Darth Maul that's going on in the cartoons? Is this pretty much, or is this a different direction? Is he not with the Empire? Is he not with the Sith? What is this Darth Maul that we're seeing? Is this right with the cartoon? I didn't fully understand it.
Yeah, this is in line with Rebels, because somewhere in Clone Wars, they find him on whatever planet, and they give him metal. I don't know if the Emperor gives him robotic legs and whatever they do. So
The Emperor heals him. Or the
yeah,
Emperor
pretty
fixes
much.
it. Okay.
Yeah, and then there's a whole thing with him and a bunch of he builds up this crime syndicate type thing, and they take over on Mandalore.
He's on his own.
There's all kinds of There's all kinds. Yeah, he's not
associated.
He's not associated with the Empire or the Sith or anything.
Okay.
He's off on his own. doing
Thanks
his
for
own
fixing
thing.
me. I'm out. Okay.
See ya.
So this is pretty much in what's the word, in league with what's going on in the cartoon. Or?
Yeah, and Rebels. I mean, he ends up in contact with Ezra and
watch this.
those guys a couple of times throughout the series. So I think this is sort of towards the end of Rebels. It's somewhere in the middle, I would think, I guess, but it's sort of towards the end.
And all the timelines check out. Like, was like Darth Maul like older? Like, was he meant to look older? I mean, he was in like kind of a vision, or not a vision, a hologram. So I thought maybe he looked older. Like,
Yeah, I mean,
was Ray Parks?
Yeah, he's a little bit older. I mean,
Same actor, Ray Parks. I think.
No, it was the guy who does the voice for the cartoon.
no, the actor was Ray Park, but the
Yeah,
the voice was
That's what I was gonna ask.
yeah, it was
Oh.
Sam Witwer, or yeah,
So good because
They used
I
a
was like, he
combination
didn't,
of both, which
right.
I thought was very well done.
Yeah, it worked.
yeah, because
Yeah.
Sam Witwer.
Oh, I
does the
guess he never
voice.
talked in.
No, he did talk very
He did?
little. He did talk in the Phantom Menace. He did like when he was like on Tatooine, like looking for everybody. He was like reporting back to somebody. I think.
Yeah, he did
talked.
talk. He did talk to Sidious when he was in.
But he was not as chatty as he is in the cartoon. Or
Yeah, because in my mind, he
this.
was like the silent Sith.
Yeah, which was kind of cool. But I think it's cool that they're connecting everything. I definitely got to give that show a chance. But that was again one of my favorite parts of the movies. I didn't expect that, and this is the first like confirmation in the film world that Darth Maul is alive. So that's interesting.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
I want to finish the talk on Kira because I
Bay
love,
of the
I love Amelia Clark.
there it is.
But who
I
doesn't love
know.
Amelia
She
Clark though?
is Bay of the Day most days of the week. She's awesome. I thought she did a really, really good job. Like we were talking, right? So we know, just like we knew in Rogue One, that these characters, we don't see them ever again. So something has to happen where they're, going to die, or they're in exile and we never see them again.
I agree.
Something has to happen. So we know that Kira, Amelia Clark's character, she's not in anything. So something has to happen. I honestly thought that she was going to die.
So did I going into the film.
So I mean, they wanted to, get this story going, and it's great. It's fantastic. When they do some sort of sequel where they start bringing this story back, that's when I expect we'll see that she dies. But overall, I thought she was fantastic. She did a pretty good job, and she has some nice scenes. Like when she's talking with L3, I thought that was a pretty good scene.
Oh, L3.
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 And she really. I think she does a fantastic job because we know that she's got a soft spot for Han because they grew up together and, they were quote unquote dating, whatever. So, we see that they get a little physical, and she says I don't want to tell you the things that I've done.
That was
It'll
interesting.
prevent you from looking the way that you're looking at me right now. So like, there's something to her character that we don't know, but she's a survivor. Like, she's gonna do whatever it takes to survive. She's gonna, whatever she has to do to get off of, that planet. She does, and Carillion. She does and gets off, and now she's trying to thrive, and she's doing what she's got to do. So I mean, she's she intrigues me a lot as far as her character, because she had to do it on her own, and she's a strong female lead, or could be a female lead, and her character's just very intriguing to me.
Did you want to talk about your theory real quick?
Oh, no, because I have no basis for my theory.
Okay.
What was I going to say? I don't think she has to necessarily die. The galaxy is very big. If she doesn't want to see Han again, she doesn't have to see Han again. It's not like everyone has to die if you don't see him in the next movie.
All right, so Chris, thanks for explaining a lot of things to me about, I keep saying Daenerys, Kira's character and Darth Maul. So they are all part of the group Crimson Dawn, which is kind of its own thing. Which was the tattoo and the necklace and all that stuff. Is that what the insignia is?
Yeah.
A Pokeball, essentially. Remind me of a Pokeball. But yeah, okay, so that's good. I got a lot of backstory here. That's why you guys are here. Now let's talk about Lando Calrissian. All right, and of course we'll talk about L3 as well. I'm a huge fan of Donald Glover, especially the comedy stuff, Community and all that. I like his sense of humor and stuff like that, and I think he's a very talented, very good actor. I was a little nervous about him, overdoing it, for Lando. It's, again, same thing with Han, is trying to recreate these iconic characters. I thought he nailed it. He did way better. I mean, I knew he was good. I had high hopes for him. I thought it landed, like, Lando. Like, I thought it was fantastic. What did you guys think about his portrayal of Lando?
No, he absolutely he nailed it. I mean, when they were going into the to first meet him, and all you heard was his voice at first. I mean, he sounded just like him. I was like,
the phrasing.
Wow! I go, that sounded just like Billy D. Williams the way he said that. But just like his whole attitude and mannerisms, he did a fantastic job.
Yeah, crushed it.
His like Lando impression kind of got me for a second. I was like, sounds like a guy doing a Lando impression.
Oh.
But it might just be because I knew it was Donald Glover, and
Couldn't buy in.
For like a little bit. Like I got into it eventually, but at first it was a little bit tricky when I started watching it and he first came in. But it might just be because, we just watched Community a couple days ago, and I'm like, that's Troy. What are you talking about?
Yeah, I get that. You get stuck in those ruts, but I was impressed.
Yeah, like it stopped bothering me pretty quickly, so I think maybe it was just that.
Well, Tim, you're the tiebreaker. What do you got, bro?
From day one when they announced that Donald Glover was going to be Lando, I said yes, yes, yes. That's the greatest casting of any single character of all time. And I'm going to be honest, did not disappoint. It was fantastic. He was awesome. He was everything that I needed Lando to be in this movie.
Yeah.
With that suave, smooth, and
Well, hello
yeah,
there.
Yeah, and he's he cheats at the games.
Lando's a cheater.
Yeah. So I mean, I thought he did a fantastic job, and we see that he's got the Millennium Falcon. Oh, let's just say the fact that they addressed him saying Han in all the other movies and stuff.
I was cool with that.
I was very happy the way that they addressed it. I thought it was amazing because it was something that we've always commented on, the original trilogy. We've always said he's mispronouncing it. It's Han Solo, but they address it, and I thought they did a good job with that. But his Millennium Falcon, right, is just awesome because it's a newer ship, kind of. It's immaculate when they go into
Trillion cruiser.
yeah, and he's got his capes in his closet.
That was great.
He's got his little cabin where he retires to. Everything in it was pure Lando Calrissian, and the way that it was done, I thought he did a great job. He was really, really, really good at it.
I think we're happy.
It was. I mean, yeah, like you said, the hand. I mean, that was a really nice touch. I mean, from the beginning, he's messing with them. He's purposely saying his name wrong. Oh, Han Solo. Oh, Han. Okay.
I like, and that's the way, like we were talking about earlier. Like that's the way to address certain things. Like little less on the nose. Like I like that, how it just kind of came about very naturally and it worked with the flow of the characters. I think we're all go ahead.
On the Millennium Falcon, it was super weird when like the front of it was connected. The two things that stick out, and I was like, oh, that's got to get destroyed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of some things slipped with like the toys where they showed that it was like a little escape pod, and then it pops out, and everybody's like, "Oh, okay,"
Yeah.
Oh, it was the escape pod. I
Yeah.
thought it just got like torn in half when they went through that.
I was a little
that whole
confused
ordeal.
too. Yeah.
No, that was the escape pod.
Oh,
that-
because he said you let the escape pod go. Okay, thank you, Chris. That clears something up for me. Makes me feel better.
I think that's the first time we saw an actual like bedroom kind of thing on the Millennium Falcon too, like that. That little the closet with the capes or whatever you want to call it, and then like the little bunk and stuff like that. So that was interesting. I like the.
Okay, I do have one thing.
Yeah, go ahead.
Because I just watched New Hope like 2 days ago.
Good
but in
movie.
A New Hope, doesn't Han say that he added those little storage things in the floor of the Millennium Falcon?
No,
Ooh.
he just says he made a lot of special modifications.
We're gonna have to go to the tape.
Because I feel like that implies that he did that.
Also, I thought they were like more grates than they
Well,
were.
they
were
were-
like solid black things
No,
in this one.
they were great in The Force Awakens, but in A New Hope they were flat.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
there
but I
you
mean,
go.
it's like a car. You replace
No.
parts, whatever.
Good job out of you on that one because I was like, wasn't it great? It just crossed my mind.
Or
Good-
maybe
good job out of
it's
you.
great underneath the floor, and the
There
floor
you
got
go.
ripped up because it's rolled.
Chris is pulling up the schematics right now. No, I'm just kidding. All right, really good, Lando. Real quick, let's talk about Was it L337? Is that the
Oh,
full
yeah.
name?
L3.
Sassy. The droids are always great. We had a sassy droid. Tim and I use the same word. Sassy. I thought she was just hilarious, great. That comic relief. Didn't put up with the
With
the
Lando,
humans
yeah.
and Lando.
I
what did you
really
guys
wish
think?
she was in it a lot longer.
Yeah,
When
short
they cut
lived.
her real short. I was like, man.
I love that Lando went back for her too. I thought that was
yeah,
cool. With
they
that.
had a special relationship.
That was cool.
Special.
Almost
Special. It works.
Yeah, yeah. We'll leave it at that.
Yeah, she was so great. I wanted more of her. The droids are one of my favorite parts of Star Wars. Like even when I was a little kid, like I loved R2. You love the droids, and her being like the crankiest droid that's ever lived was hilarious.
And
Yeah.
what I like with all these movies, and they did it also in Rogue One, is you had R2, you had 3PO, and you had BB, and then, they had their personality. But now you get to see some other droids, and they all have like these like eccentric personalities.
Yeah.
And, they're like all like kind of insane a little bit.
Yeah,
It
but doesn't
works.
it make sense because that's Lando's droid, right?
Yeah,
It seems like
she's sick of his shit.
Exactly, and it kind of acts like Lando kind of would act a little bit. Like that's where she took a lot of her cues from.
Absolutely. Really well said.
What?
I definitely thought the entire movie. I thought it was Gwendolyn Christie doing the voice. It's not.
Yeah, who was
but-
the voice?
But
I
the
don't know.
actress sounds so
I'll
much
pull it
like
up.
her. Especially
Yeah,
with the voice
I
thing.
initially thought I was like that sounds just like her, but I was like it can't be.
So,
They're
Yeah,
gonna
that's what I
do
said.
that.
I was like, that can't be her. It's not. I looked it up. She's another British actress, but her
Okay.
voice, and especially with whatever they
Sounded
did
like
to
her.
make it sound robotic, because the way Gwendolyn Christie
Yeah, the
sounded
way
with the
Phasma
Phasma
kinda-
Reminded you of
mask on.
Phasma
yeah,
immediately.
It, so much. That's
or
why I
Brianna
thought it was
Tarth,
Yeah.
just the way of speaking. Yeah, good call. All right, we didn't really talk any of the villains here. Again, spoiler alert. But Woody Harrelson's character, Beckett. I knew Woody Harrelson would be good in this. He's good in everything. But to me, I said this to Kate, Woody Harrelson was Woody Harrelson in this. Like, I saw the kind of twist coming. I didn't see it earlier, but pretty much when he went off on his own, he's like, oh, I'm going to go see a gangster in Tatooine or something like that. Then they go meet up with Vision's character, Voss, and Voss does the whole, oh, he's dead. I'm so surprised to hear that. What happened? And I'm like, okay. So that I didn't see the big Daenerys twist coming. I mean, I didn't trust
Oh
her.
my god! So we're gonna talk
Kira.
about this movie. Someone we're gonna be like, oh yeah, the movie
Vision
with Vision
and
and
Daenerys.
Daenerys, yeah, and
Yeah.
Troy from
I'm
Community, and they're
trying-
just like, what are you talking
Pretty
about?
much.
Did you think that Beckett was, the one that ratted on Han and all them? Because
I didn't care.
Originally thought that it was going to be Lando, and I was like, Lando.
I thought it was. I thought it was
it
gonna
crossed
be
my
Lando.
mind.
What are you
Yeah,
doing, Lando?
It crossed my mind.
I thought it was gonna be Lando.
And that particular scene, I know exactly what you're talking about. It flashed through my head, and that's a great point.
especially
because
because he bounced with the Millennium Falcon. He was like, see ya.
Kind of like a foreshadowing
Yeah.
retroactively.
Yeah, so I mean, that was my initial thought. But Woody Harrelson was great in that.
He's good in
We
everything.
knew that he was gonna die once again because there's zero mention in the future about him. But the little bit saying hey, there's a guy putting together a heist on on Tatooine. That's where I'm heading next, and it'll be my last big score. And like you knew,
Oh,
like,
yeah, that's kind of like it's my last day until I retire.
yeah. So I mean,
Speaking of which, the pilot dude at the beginning, I forgot about. They literally played that out. The dude with all the arms,
Yeah.
he was great.
Oh,
He
yeah.
goes, "Yeah, I'm gonna
Crowd.
retire, open up a cantina, and then everything goes to you know what."
Yeah, you can't
Like,
retire.
This is
or
my
you
last day
die.
on the force. I'm gonna go on vacation.
Yeah.
Like it's that I just thought was super cliche, but it made it funny in a way. That was a good.
I forgot
character.
about the monkey guy.
Yeah, very early on. I digress, though. That's just you guys brought that up. Maybe
Woody
think.
Harrelson though was
Go ahead.
really, really solid. Like
He's-
he did what
he's
he was supposed to. He seemed like, I said almost perfect casting for Lando, but like Woody Harrelson's character was exactly who he was with Woody Harrelson as being that guy.
Yep.
So I mean, I
Agreed.
thought that it was a well written, and I would like to know if it like was written for him exactly because it seems like it was almost
Probably.
I agree with
yeah.
that. What did you think of the character's name was Beckett?
Beckett.
Or something
His last name is Beckett. Yeah.
What did you think of Woody Harrelson?
Yeah, I mean, I thought he did a good job. I mean, he was he was there. There was he facilitated the story.
Ding ding ding. All right.
But you
Yeah.
know what they did a better job of? They gave you a little bit more of him, with his little love interest.
Yeah,
than,
there
than
was
we
some
got
substance.
in some of the characters in Rogue One. So I felt like his death in, this film, I don't want to say like it hit home, but I mean I felt it a little bit more.
Okay.
And I love that it was the little play on Han shot first.
Yeah, good
I
call.
thought it was very, very, well done in that regard. And he says flat out, like, "Hey, I would this time I would have killed you, kid." And I thought it was just very well done the way that they.
Tim, you are making me like this movie better than I initially did, man. You're really just diving into like these character relationships and stuff like that.
Yeah, and I like little things like that where they kind of correct those alterations.
Yeah.
And they go,
Oh God, yeah.
Han, he wasn't gonna, he shot. He didn't wait for Greedo. He knows if he doesn't do something,
Snooze, you lose.
yeah, something's gonna happen.
And
So
then, thanks to George Lucas, some people lose on Jeopardy against Chris. Thanks a lot, George Lucas.
Okay, I missed something. But
So
All right.
no, but I thought he was cool. Like I feel like Han got a lot of his like Han-ness from Beckett. Like Beckett did a lot of things
True.
that I was like, oh, like I see how the way he has influenced Han and who he becomes later.
True.
Which I thought was cool. That was like a cool
that was
character to
probably
have.
the point, and I just
Yeah.
probably didn't.
Well,
Bite.
I mean, Beckett takes on this role as kind of like a
father
figure, more so than Han's real dad. Han made a comment about
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
that
got a
he's not
little
close. That he's not
backstory.
close with his
Yeah,
dad.
so I mean, it's somebody that he kind of looks up to throughout the whole film.
By the way, I love that Lando loves his mom. I don't know why.
That was
I'm
cool,
just like,
yeah, I
that
like
seems
that.
exactly right. She probably got him into the capes.
You guys are crushing it. We're covering everything. And lastly, I mean, there's a bunch of characters we can get into, but just mainly the main villain, I would say, obviously being Voss, Vision. I know I keep saying. What do we think about his whole steez and his whole it's pretty standard. We've seen this type of villain before.
He wasn't a spectacular villain.
Yeah. I mean, he served his role. Good actor. Nothing against his performance or anything. Just the character. I mean, what do we think of his little weapons and all that? Go ahead.
I will say, I loved seeing vibroblades in action.
Okay, so explain
That
this to
was
me.
fantastic. You've never seen vibroblades yet in the Star Wars. They've been in all kinds of literature, all the games, all that stuff. Basically, it's a knife, but along the edge,
Yeah.
it aligns the
Sabers.
molecules to be almost like a laser. It's
Yeah,
like
like almost like a blaster, kind of like laser.
oh yeah. So I mean, they could legitimately fend off a lightsaber because they're
Oh wow.
yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. No, the weapons were really cool. That's one thing I liked a lot.
It was interesting. I was yelling at Kate at the not yelling at
Because
Kate
he's mean.
because I was just mean and I just need
He
to
wanted
yell
to
at
ruin
somebody.
the movie.
And Han was like it was him versus Voss, and he's taking cover behind the couch. And I'm like, Voss doesn't have a gun. He's just got the blaze. I'm like, why is he taking cover like that? And she's like, well, he doesn't know what Voss has yet or something like that. And I was just like, he's standing there in his classic Han pose with like the gun up and, looking around the corner or behind the couch or whatever he was. And I'm like, why is he taking cover? Like, no one has a blaster besides Han. But I guess he did throw the things at some point. So
Yeah, he did.
Once he threw them, I was like, oh, okay. I'm like, just shoot him. He's going to try to stab you. Like, so that was like one little thing. But it checked out when he started throwing.
And, well, let's just say Han getting his blaster, acquiring the blaster, acquiring the Falcon,
Yeah, we knew. Right? Yeah, you knew it was coming, man. Yeah, did you guys liked all that? Chris has a big smile on his face, so I think he liked that, man. Han's one of the best characters of all time, man. No question. What you got, bro?
I was just gonna say one other thing that we just slightly skipped over a little bit in the meeting Lando thing was Mr. Clint Howard thrown into there.
So I caught it.
Yeah, it was like instant.
Help me out.
Help
me out. That was the guy in the ring?
There he is. Yeah.
Tending to the
what
droids.
Do I know him from, though? I couldn't get
He
there.
is in
cameos in Austin Powers.
He is in every single movie that Ron Howard does.
Yeah.
It's his brother.
Oh, that's who guys were talking about.
He's in a lot of other B movies too, but he's like
small roles, yeah. But as soon as I saw him, I was like, oh yeah, Ron Howard did this. Like, I didn't think about that until I saw him, and I was like, oh yeah. Yeah, I caught that. In fact, that's a perfect lead-in because I wanted to talk about little Easter eggs and stuff like that. I didn't see too many. Like at the beginning, what planet were they on? Like was it Corellia?
Corellia,
yeah. I saw like the little TIE fighters in the background, and I saw the Star Destroyer like shield generators and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, this is cool. But then I realized like there was a lot of Imperial activity, so it was like less of an Easter egg. What else? Tim, you had a big Easter egg that we were talking about.
The crystal skull from the Indiana Jones series. So they've always done like little nods, Indiana Jones and Star Wars, kind of for their little connection with everything. So like you could see in the big ship, the Voss's ship, whatever, that he's got a lot of artifacts and stuff. So like the crystal skull's like there. It's a big skull that's
I didn't even
right
catch
there.
it. Good
and
job.
There's supposed to be different artifacts from Indiana Jones in there. The only thing, I've seen the movie twice. The first time I wasn't looking that much. The second time I did look. But it's kind of, you sort of notice it, but you kind of like just let it slide. It's just like a nice thing for it to like kind of be there.
And really good catch by you. I didn't even catch that. Warwick Davis, I believe that's his name. We saw the, obviously the Ewok from Return of the Jedi. I can't think of his name. It escapes me. Wicket, thank you.
Yeah, but that character is actually, from what I read, when in episode 1,
the pod racing.
When he's at in the Tatooine with the pod racer.
Right.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the same guy.
Same character.
Same character.
Yeah.
Did not catch that.
So he's got a little story.
Wow. Well, now I gotta watch episode 1.
Do you know?
Yeah. Thanks, YouTube. No. Any other Easter eggs you guys caught?
Well, beyond Easter eggs.
Yeah, go.
We haven't discussed
Let's do it.
the Kessel Run.
Yes, of course. Let's see. Yeah, I know you were excited about
Everything
that.
we've always wanted to
12
know about the
parsecs.
Kessel.
If you
about the
round
Kessel Run.
down,
Is a
Okay,
parsec
that-
a unit of measure in distance? Is it time? Like what is it?
It's
And
whatever
we
you want it to be.
We finally get the answer.
Kessel's
which is
in your heart.
amazing.
Kessel's in your heart.
No, I love that Chewie goes and he goes, well, if you round down.
That was.
Of course.
What did you
so
think of
Han
all that,
Solo.
Chris? Like the whole. I knew you were excited about that going into this movie.
I honestly, and it's like we always say with some of these movies, what it was in my imagination is not what they did. And the Kessel Run is because they're running spice from Kessel, which is, like drugs, basically. They're drug smugglers. I think they're playing that down now that it's Disney.
Right.
But the Kessel Run is running spice from Kessel past any kind of Imperial blockade, and you have to get from point A to point B around that maw.
Right.
And however close you are depends on you have to have enough speed to get past it, and that's what the Kessel Run has always been.
So you weren't in love with it.
I wasn't a fan of them turning it into this heist for this like hyperspace fuel, you know,
Well,
and that was the Kessel Run. Like, you know, it was
The fuel
when
again.
they went there, when she traded them as slaves, she did say, "I would trade these for spice."
Yeah, they make mention of the spice, but I mean, the Kessel Run was because he's running drugs for Jabba or whoever, you know, whoever he was working for,
Han.
you know.
You naughty. Yeah, and you could see a little bit of the the sprinkle of sugar on everything a little bit. in this
Yeah, I mean,
movie.
they did a good job. I mean, Kessel's a slave planet, and I mean, the rest of that was great. You know, it was just I thought it was an interesting departure going to get.
The
this-
robot like mutiny. That was
fun.
amazing, though.
Another little Easter egg, the "I hate you" from Lando. First of all, I remember him like Troy legit going, "I hate you" on Community or something like that, like the same way he said it. But he goes, "I hate you," and Han goes, "I know," or something like that.
Yeah, because he
That's-
destroys the
Yeah,
Falcon.
that was a cute little I was cool with that.
I thought there was a lot of parallels that they did that, you know, if you were a real fan, it was like, oh, yeah, nice. I see what you did there. Like, we know that when Beckett gets off the ship, he's got the disguise, the same one that Lando uses.
Yeah, of
when they
course. I
rescue
said that to
Han.
Kate. I forgot, but
Yeah,
yes.
like that's something that's like, hey, I see what you did right there.
I like
and
that.
I love it.
I like that.
One that I caught on real easy to was when Han was with Beckett and they were and Kira, and they were trying to get a ship. Very, very, very similar to Luke and Obi-Wan trying to get a ship. They're coming around the bend, and Han turns to Beckett and says, I don't even think he's got a ship. Same thing that Luke says to Obi-Wan.
Right.
So I was like, oh my goodness.
Oh, good call.
Very, very well played. Very well played.
Very good job, Tim, knocking it out of
I
the park
know.
with these Easter eggs, man. Really good. Anything else you guys noticed, or even not Easter eggs, or anything like interesting tying in the other movies?
I don't have anything like that, but I will say one
Go
thing.
ahead.
With all these Star Wars story movies, the one thing that bothers me every single time, not having the main title with the big Star Wars
Oh
on
my
the
God,
screen.
we skipped over that, but it is on my
Go.
thing.
Let's
You
do it
mean-
now.
You mean like the crawl or
Yeah, the crawl.
Not even
Or
the
the
cross,
Star
just
Wars
going
going
under
back.
the.
My dad saw that a long time ago in a galaxy far away, and then it went to like more of the
Yeah,
blue
more
writing, and
text.
my dad went, "Oh," like he was disappointed. Like
It's disappointing.
just my
every
dad, who's been watching
time.
Star Wars forever,
Yeah,
he
because
went, "Oh," and I was
That's
just
like that's what gets you like in the mood
Yeah,
for
go-
Star Wars is the bum.
yeah, let's bring it, and of course no John Williams, but let's bring it
Yeah,
to Chris because
that kills me too. Is just the lack of. They use some of John Williams
Yeah.
music, but it's not the same.
you have to.
Yeah, it's not the same though. They make it like, oh, it's a little bit different.
Go ahead,
Yeah.
Chris.
I mean, we said this when we did, talked about Rogue One, and it didn't bother me as much with that because it happened, and then it went right into the movie. But then this one starts, and then you still put words up there explaining the backstory.
I thought the exact
Yeah,
I'm
same.
but it's
going.
not a
If
crawl.
you're gonna do that, why don't you
You
just
know
put the crawl?
Wait. Not only that, I was okay with no crawl in Rogue One. I thought it's a completely different movie. It's not in, the original anthology. With this, I was very, very, very disappointed that it was the same light blue color as Galaxy Far,
yeah,
Far Away.
yeah.
Yeah, I was very disappointed in that. Like, if you just would have switched it to white, I think it would have been a lot better. But, I mean, they have to kind of set it up a little bit, especially because...
Hit the ground running this
Especially
one.
because they don't say Han Solo until like later. Like, yeah, we know the name of the movie Solo, but I mean, they do that and introduce a situation of what's going on, where they are, that kind of thing. So I mean, I was actually okay with it because the crawl I think is just unique to what will be
I'm with you.
the the 9 when we're
main-
done with it.
Yeah.
I'm with Chris. Just give me the damn crawl, and then put
Yeah.
Star Wars and giant letters on the screen, and then play the main theme. That's all I want.
You know, I see it from both sides. I really do see it from both sides because, like, my dad's reaction, my dad's just like, "Oh," like, he didn't see it. Like, I heard him, and I got it. I felt the same way because it's Star Wars. But I do like, I like the fact that they're setting it apart. Like,
yeah,
these
but-
are like the Asterix movies. Like,
But,
you know what I'm saying?
But with Solo, Han Solo is part of the main story.
Yeah,
it's not
true,
like
true.
random characters. And I'm
Okay,
like, "Aw,
that's okay.
just give me the song.
I'm not completely disagreeing.
I mean, I think I would be. I still think they should have it for all of them. I mean, I do, but
Just keep it.
At
Yeah,
this
yeah.
point, they've made that decision. They're not going to. But then don't put words up there.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Don't
Go
make
right
me
into the
read if
story.
it's not
Yeah,
moving
at
on the
least in
screen.
Rogue One, like Rogue One gives you like where they're at, and it's very easy to tell what's going on.
So it
Yeah.
goes right into it, and then has the ship going to the planet, and you're like, okay, you're in.
You know what? Just before I watch Rogue One or Solo again, I'm just gonna play it on my phone, and then I'll watch the movie.
Yeah.
Just make myself feel better.
I mean, the music and the soundtrack really are so you don't really
important.
realize it, but it is just so important to the scenes.
It
And they brought a
sets
lot
the
of these.
mood.
Did you guys catch that little Duel of Fates when Maul
Yeah, I
was on
caught
screen?
it. I
Yep.
caught
Yeah,
it,
it
of
was
course.
so
There,
good.
there was a
before
couple of
actually
times that
said
they threw some stuff in there, like
Yeah.
the when
That's
they did
where
the
I was
Imperial
going.
like propaganda commercial, and it had the Imperial
I
March.
didn't like that. I thought like it was a little fourth wall breaking because they used the Imperial March on the commercial, but it was like a little bit off. Did you notice that? Maybe I heard it like because it was too far in the background. It sounded like it was like a little bit like tweaked.
Well, I think it was like we're hearing it through speakers.
Okay,
speakers.
but they're like join the
Yeah.
join the
It was
Empire.
like a propaganda video.
And
Yeah.
I was just like, what? Like, no, you can't use that on the commercial. That's like Darth Vader's theme,
Well,
like the Imperial March. But I
But
guess
it's not.
it is the
It's
Imperial.
the Imperial
Yeah, it's
March.
the
We just
Imperial
it's
March.
become Darth
Okay.
Vader's theme, but it's
As I'm complaining about it, I'm going. It
You're
is the
realizing?
Imperial March. I guess that's the march that the
For the-
Imperial.
the Empire.
All right, but that kind of annoyed me when
Yeah.
that was one
it was
thing
like
that
a
bugged
little
me.
fourth wall breaking, but I'm okay with it because
Maybe or like on the nose again or something. Like
maybe,
that. It's
but
just
it
like-
was okay. It was
yeah.
okay. You know, I was just happy to hear some of the music.
Yeah, but Chris, you're right. It's the Imperial
is.
March, man.
And
Yeah, you're completely right.
And who knows? Maybe they're playing it every time Darth Vader walks around.
Yeah.
You assumed it was
Yeah,
for
like,
us.
here come Hail to the Chief or what, all that kind of thing. Yeah.
It was like his wrestler entrance.
Yeah.
Now I have a question, right? Because C-3PO and R2-D2 have been in like every movie in some aspect, whether it's in the background or, yeah, they were there.
They were there.
Anthony
yeah.
Daniels
when
was
there was like
there.
an
So
airplane hangar that
I
opened up and they were
Didn't
there.
see them in this movie, which
It-
I was a little upset
Yeah.
I
about.
thought I saw R2 a few times.
No, there was
I
What-
saw
what,
it
what
in
they
like,
actually
behind
put
the
in.
distance.
What they actually put in was an astromech that was the pink one. That's
Yeah.
actually associated with like the 501st. It's called R2KT.
I did
Yeah, I
see
remember
Anthony
seeing that one.
Daniels was in the
And
cast.
Anthony
Yeah.
Daniels was like one of the slaves that helps Chewbacca in the
No
mines.
way. Okay, because I saw he was in the cast, but I knew he wasn't playing.
Yeah,
3PO.
I saw that he was in the cast too.
Yeah, so I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know. I read the thing after. He's like, oh, he's the only one that's been in all of them.
Yeah, because was it Kenny
Aw,
Baker
that's cute.
had passed away. But yeah, no way. That's crazy, man. I didn't think about that. And where were they in Rogue One again? You just had said it.
On the Rebel base on Yavin when they're all
Yeah.
They're
together.
on the Rebel base. They're like in the
airplane
background.
hangar opens.
Yeah, right
Yeah,
side
so
of
they're
the
okay.
kinda,
screen.
they're like getting out of the way.
Yeah, they were either running to their ship or something.
Yeah.
Oh, R2.
So when we're
Go ahead.
discussing, before we kind of took a veer off with Easter eggs, the couple of things that stuck out, which were pretty funny. You're like, the ship that Han Solo says he has is the same ship that Ghost is from Rebels. That Harrison
that
Dula-
he's-
yeah, that the
good
main
call.
ship that they fly, that's the same type of ship.
Nice. Good stuff. What else you got?
And then I don't know if you noticed when L3 is trying to calculate and she whacks herself in the head. When Han Solo's trying to get the Falcon going in Star Wars, he smacks the side of it and then it kicks back on.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Definitely.
So that more playing into, and we didn't really talk about this too much about her being part of the.
Right.
What do you think? What do you
Yeah,
think
there you
about
go.
that?
There
What
it
do you-
is.
What do you think
Nice.
about? What do
That's
you guys,
awesome, actually. Yeah. I
And
can
then
look at
and
that.
then
That's good.
3PO
Nice.
saying, I don't know, it's got a peculiar accent. Your hyperdrive has a peculiar accent.
Yeah.
Oh man, thank you for making me like this movie more.
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
no, you guys really are making me
Uh-huh.
like
That's
it a
good.
little
That's
bit more.
fantastic.
No, that's good stuff. Yeah, I'm taking notes here. Really good. Well done, Chris.
Yeah, no, and like you were saying before, Tim, there's a bunch of stuff in that, in his room that like all kinds of Easter eggs, and there was Mandalorian armor.
I caught
There
that.
was like a pyramid thing that's like almost like a Sith holocron type thing. There's a ton of stuff in there.
Nice. I think we crushed it on Easter eggs. I mean, I only saw like one or two, but our powers combined here.
Man, One day I'm gonna have to watch. Well, not one day. Probably 1 year. I'm gonna have to watch all of these movies in like order that they happened, because there's probably a lot of stuff you'll notice.
Yeah.
Be like, oh,
Line to line
I
and
see
stuff
what
like
you did there.
So this is a perfect segue into my next question for you guys. Where does well, first of all, I always say like, if I really like a movie, is this one going to make the DVD shelf over there? Like, is this going to make the cut? As of now, I would say no. I don't know if I'm going to pick this one up, but the more we talk about it, I'm liking it a little bit more, and maybe I'll give it another watch or two. But where would you rank this one on the series of Star Wars movies including Rogue One and all that?
That's really tough because there's like a million movies. I'd have to like write it all
Well,
down.
where would you rank this? Towards the top, towards the bottom, in the middle?
Middle. I'd put it middle.
Middle.
Yeah,
Not
I'd
bottom.
say it's middle.
I'd definitely go middle as well. I would say, I mean, it's early, right? So we've only seen it once or twice.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I would definitely say middle. I would say the original 3, in any order that you like them. I really, really liked Rogue One, and I would put Solo right after because, I really didn't like, the prequels, episodes 1, 2, and 3, like at all.
Mm-hmm.
I watch them just because it is Star Wars.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, I think I put it like 4th in there.
Well, okay.
I'd have to see it more than once. Also, I need to watch Rogue One again. But in my mind, and it could be just because we just watched it, I think I'd put Solo above Rogue One, just because in Rogue One I didn't love any of the characters.
I love the one.
Like,
But you
I
couldn't.
I couldn't. No, but
Yeah.
But if again, I always say this. But if I'd watched that movie, they made me fall in love with the characters, and at the end they all died. I would have been like, "Wow, that movie was incredible."
Yeah.
But I didn't care about the. I didn't
True.
care that they died. I was like, "Okay, they're done now. That's fine," except for the robot and the blind guy. Those two I cared about.
Shrut.
Yeah, true.
He was I loved
Those
him.
two I
loved
cared about. But everyone else, I was like, "Whatever, you could die. It's fine."
Go ahead, Chris. Where'd you put this?
Yeah, it's similar kind of, obviously the first 3. I think Rogue One is right there, like right after them. I mean, I liked Rogue One, and maybe Force Awakens, then Solo, then Last Jedi, then the prequels.
Gotcha.
It's too early for me with the latest installments. 7 and 8.
Yeah.
Like, I don't
It's
know.
hard to
They're
mix
all
them
there.
in.
I love Rogue One so much though. I thought it was like really, really well done. So
I got you.
yeah.
It was fine.
I'm gonna be the Debbie Downer over here on this one. This is in my lower tier. Just out of all the movies,
Lower than the prequels.
I would put this around the prequel area, like maybe above the prequels, and that's it.
Where would you put
lower
it in
tier.
comparison to Star Wars Holiday Special?
Oh, we're not counting that one.
That's on my
that
list.
does not count.
I feel like that one might be above the prequels because it's so funny.
Yeah, man, we could do a whole podcast.
Actually, what
about
I'd like
that.
to see, and I haven't seen in a long time, is the Ewok movies.
Was it a cartoon?
No,
they
there
were
was
legit movies.
Battle for
Yeah.
Endor, and I forget what the other one was.
Yeah, I feel like I kind of remember that
Was
from when I was a
3PO in
kid.
it?
Yeah,
There was
3PO
2
in
of
it?
them, right? 2.
yeah, I forget what the other one was. I know Battle for Endor was one.
Yeah, where it takes like I remember watching the first Ewok movie on like YouTube or something, and it has like a total like never-ending story type feel to it.
Cool.
Maybe because it is one of those like kids like 80s movies.
Yeah, it's definitely very kiddie. There's like the kid, the 2 kids
Oh
that are
man,
in
like
it.
you just blew my mind because I remember that, but I totally forgot it existed.
I know what we're doing.
Because that's
later.
what Lucas and Disney want you to forget.
They want me to forget it. I will
Yes.
never forget Star Wars Holiday Special.
All right.
They won't let you forget it.
Yeah. All right. Now, before we wrap this thing up, I think we covered a lot of ground. Chris, did we cover all your notes, man? I think you caught a lot of stuff, man. What are we missing here?
No, yeah, we covered everything.
We covered everything.
Yeah.
Well, you guys know. I'll tell you what, though. Like, I wasn't huge on this one. I'm not sure if it was going to make the DVD shelf. Just had issues with the lead and more of the heist storyline. But you guys built me up a little bit on it. I enjoyed conversing with you guys and some interesting theories and some things I got to look back on. And yeah,
Yeah, you know what? overall, it's a really fun movie to watch.
Fun, yeah.
You know, the true fans, they're gonna complain about everything because guess what?
No
Right.
matter
They
what.
want it to be like super perfect, so they found reasons to complain for
True.
Force Awakens and
Yeah.
Last Jedi.
I loved Force Awakens.
Yeah, and I mean,
loved it.
I love Force.
we
That's
really
that's my
have no
favorite.
right to complain. Whatever they want to do with the storyline, let them do with the storyline.
Hey, it's more Star Wars, man.
Yeah, so I mean, it looks like they're setting up for new stories. So I know Kenobi was like
Stoked for
teased
that.
a little bit, and Ewan McGregor said he's on board.
Has to be
And then
him.
there's a
Has
whole
to be
there's
him.
a whole
Yeah.
new series that's gonna
Yeah,
like
so
not
I mean,
part of
if
the
they
main
did,
story
if
as
they
well.
did some sort of like new movie, like a Star Wars story, where they talk about the actual like whatever they're doing with Jabba, I guess that could be like awesome. You know, you get to see some of those. The bounty hunters would be in that, and I mean Kenobi. We know that you know in the cartoons that Darth Maul, whatever you want to call him at this point, he ends up being killed by Obi-Wan Kenobi, and you gotta kind of lead you into it. So if they're gonna do Kenobi, I would imagine that that's where this is going to somewhat take over. You know,
Well, hey, we'll see, man. I'm excited for that one. I think Ewan McGregor was the best part of the prequels, to be honest. I mean, I had no issues with
Liam
him.
Neeson was good though.
Yeah, he was good
Qui-Gon
for the
was
one
fantastic.
movie.
Liam
yeah,
Neeson's not my favorite actor.
Yeah, but I
he's
mean,
always
as-
Liam Neeson is Liam Neeson in a costume.
I guess. I mean, I thought he was. I love Qui-Gon.
Yeah, I liked Qui-Gon. What about those green lightsabers? Cool. All right, guys. I think. Go ahead. Yeah.
I do have one more thing to
Yep.
say. I do think they are absolutely overdoing it with all of the Star Wars stories and spin-offs and stuff like that, but there's no doubt in my mind that I will see every single
Exactly,
one
I'm
of
the
them
same
in
way.
theaters
It's more Star
until I
Wars.
am dead.
It's more Star Wars, man. It's more Star Wars.
You know what? I'm looking at my list. We didn't
Yes,
talk
sir.
about the Marauder, the swoop gang there with Enfys Nest.
Such a huge plot point. I'll just say it right now. I did not see that coming, and I was on board. I like that little twist. I didn't see it coming. You guys?
No,
The little twist?
no, I
Didn't see it
No,
I
coming.
thought
definitely not.
that was one of my favorite parts, and I totally forgot about it. I saw it this morning. Yeah, no, when she takes off the helmet though, and you're like, oh, you're like a kid.
I liked it a lot. I liked that a lot.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that the little speech at the end, where you know your lead marauder, what's her name?
I
we
should
know?
know this.
Enfys Nest.
Yeah, that's it. You know, she makes a comment like, "Hey, you just did a really solid for the cause. It's gonna go a long way. And, you know, we need warriors like you. Do you want to come join us?" And Han just, you know, in what we can only expect from Han, says, "No, you know,
Yeah.
I got my own stuff I got to do." And she says, which I thought was really cheesy, like maybe in the future, you know, you'll be more sympathetic to the cause and you'll help out. And I was like, I
On the
didn't really need
nose,
that.
yeah.
But okay.
I agree with everything you just said, but I did like that main. I cared more about that plot point than the whole heist thing. That's when it started.
Don't worry,
getting
I'm sure
interesting.
they'll get their own movie.
Yeah. Chris, what did you think about that whole thing?
I thought it was definitely an interesting change up. You know, not being, you know, just like this, you know, competing gang trying to steal stuff for like their own thing. They're actually just, you know, the early stages of the rebellion trying to steal crap for the rebellion.
Yeah.
You know, and take it away from the empire and these crime syndicates. And I mean, I thought that was fantastic way to tie it in,
Yes,
because you
I
don't
agree.
really hear anything about the rebellion.
Yeah.
You know, at all in this. Yeah, there's the empire, and you know they're just there, but you know, and definitely, you know, like we said, you know, a lot more interesting female characters now.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's fantastic, and with, you know, obviously with all the costuming like stuff. I mean, before you had like, you know, Princess Leia, and like that's it. That's all you had,
End
and
of
like Mon
list.
Mothma, and like whatever. Now there's like so many different people, like you know, to do, and they're all fantastic, and I think it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like that, and I'm glad you brought that up, man. I would have been mad if we didn't. You know, huge plot point in the movie. We were talking about everything else, but yeah, that, and it tied everything together finally, which I loved.
Which it seems like a lot of these movies are tying up loose ends and really giving you the background information that
Yeah.
you want. But yeah, we mentioned it before. This wasn't a movie that like we needed to see with all of our hearts. I'd be more excited for like a Yoda movie, you know, than this Solo movie. You wouldn't be excited for a Yoda movie?
I really don't. And it's the same thing like, you know, we've discussed before with like I I don't want to see the Han Solo because it's the mystique behind Han Solo that makes him cool. It's the mystique behind Boba Fett that made him cool. Like, he's this badass bounty hunter, he is what he is. And like Yoda, yeah, he's 900 years old. He's gotten into some stuff, but I don't need to see that because he's Yoda.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. Like,
Yeah,
we got
Yoda's
a little
crazy.
bit more Yoda in the prequels where he's doing all the flips and all that.
I mean, I want to see new people. I mean, I personally want to see new people, except for Obi-Wan movie. I want to see Obi-Wan movie.
Oh my
If
gosh.
we're making requests.
Let's end it on that. I think that's a perfect thing. We want more Star Wars. We don't want to overdo it, but we definitely want Obi-Wan. I think that wraps up. Guys, thanks for a few minutes. Always good conversing with you guys. And everyone, check out Solo in theaters now. Everyone, may the Force be with you. We're out. Peace. Hey guys, thanks for listening to this episode of the Bob Culture Podcast. If you'd like to support the show on patreon.com for some great incentives, check out patreon.com/BobCulturePodcast. I'd like to thank my newest patrons, Mike and Michelle Vermillion from Sledgepad LLC. Sledgepad is the revolutionary bass drum dampening system that make blankets in your bass drum a thing of the past. I love my Sledgepad and is currently being used by drummers from national acts such as Pink and Collective Soul. Use my code BOBMAN007 at checkout for a special discount. Check them out at sledgepad.com. Finally, don't forget to support the show by leaving a review on iTunes or give me a like on facebook.com/BobCulturePodcast.